already dealing with the dumb shit. Okay. This should work. Let us know in the comments if it's fucking working.
That's why I'm polyamorous. Because it takes a village to keep this fucking moron in line.
You're like that child that someone just dropped off. And we're like, well, fuck, I have morals.
I like how I have Dad and McPherson like checking in like the high pitch noise is still there, or it was good in this one, and I'm just like, oh, that's good to know that people care.
Good. They're keeping us in line.
Hey, so we switched microphones to the Red Dragon webcam that I've got, so we'll use that.
Pull up the stream, see if you can hear anything.
I'll see if I can hear us. We should be live, I reckon.
Watching yourself?
Yeah, we were doing that earlier.
That's cringy.
It's very cringy.
That's kind of a cuck thing to do.
Yeah,
Could you be
it's a bit fuzzy,
gay?
but it's not bad. So
It's just fuzzy in the
yeah,
background.
that's better than what it was.
It's
so
fine.
Could you be any more gay?
now I gotta go in.
Don't challenge me.
I won't.
Shit, we have so many cables now. Oh man. But hey, we're finally doing it. We're good. It's great. It's totally fine.
This is
totally professional, I swear.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah. Let me just go ahead and delete those. Those two
Delete
streams.
those from the channel. Get rid of your shame.
Yeah, get rid of my shame. Absolutely. Okay.
So wait. Sorry, I don't mean to interject, but
No.
are the microphones not working?
Well, what was happening was they'll play, but there's a high pitched ringing that was in the background,
Yeah.
and I didn't notice it until Dad commented or sent me a text saying like, "Hey, the shit's not working."
Mm-hmm.
So, and I was like, at first I thought he was talking about the video I sent him, and I was like, that's weird. And then I was like, wait, maybe he's talking about.
Your dad is an audio expert.
Yeah.
He probably knows what.
He probably knows what the problem is.
Yeah.
Like I said, my guess is that it's the cable.
He can be like, yeah, there's a program on your computer that's interrupting the audio and blah blah blah.
Well, I mean, it's Saturday. Just fucking invite him over. You're like, hey, can you
I
fix
would
this?
love to have Jeremy's dad on the stream one day. That would be dope as hell.
Yeah. Oh, McPherson says, "Hey, Shay."
Hey, I'm actually here today.
Yeah.
Isn't
Well,
that-
in the background.
Isn't that great?
This has pockets. That's great.
Whoa, that's nice.
And so do you. You're full of pockets,
You're full of-
technically.
yeah.
Technically.
In
Not any useful
like 3.
pockets, but
Honestly,
well, not counting the nose and ears. That's a lot of pockets.
That's excessive amount of pockets.
Eyes if
That is a
creative.
greedy amount of
I got
pockets.
beer ducts too, bitch.
Oh
Yeah.
shit.
That is a greedy amount of pockets. That's
I mean,
the type
are
of
we counting pores?
No, yeah. Who knows? I mean, if you're counting pores, then you got
millions,
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 billions, so many pockets.
But as guys, we have like 2 less pockets than you.
Yeah.
Yeah, suck it.
I guess we really were the inferior gender this whole time, Jeremy.
I'll
That's
see
why,
myself
that's
out.
why you guys die early.
Yeah. It's because
My lack of pocket. That's why we took the pockets out of your clothing. That's
yeah,
what
yeah.
it
Yeah,
was
fuck y'all.
It was
We
a
were
revenge
jealous.
thing.
We were
It was a
jealous.
jealousy
They were
thing.
like, you have plenty.
Oh man. So yeah, rings of power.
Oh yeah, though the stream had a topic. the stream had a point.
Remember, so what gets me is that we're gonna send a force to go and save the Southlands, and like, how many people are we sending, guys? It's like 500.
500 people.
It's like, that's not enough.
That's not an army.
And also, it's like 5 ships, and a lot of them are on horseback.
Yeah.
How are you going to carry the horses in the ship?
I think they were like, I don't know. We had a shot of the ships, of the inside
They
of the
weren't
ship.
that big.
They were like 12 horses,
There was and
apparently 100 guys on
well,
each ship.
it looked like 20
Yeah.
by the looks of it. There was like 20 dudes and about 12 horses, and apparently that's your fighting force per ship. Sorry, that's not enough.
We're gonna send 5 ships, 500 men. The ships can hold about 6 horses and 20 dudes.
And then but yeah, it's like, the shit that was the crazy thing. So we were right. Harold is Sauron.
Yeah. Jeremy called it the first episode.
I'm just gonna shoot.
I was
shit.
like 90% sure that Harold, or Halbrand as you know him, I was like 90% sure that he was Sauron, I was going to give the show like a 10% benefit of the doubt.
McPherson has 11 pockets currently.
11 pockets.
11 pockets. What, you got cargo pants on? Jesus.
Good for you. God, I feel a little diminished right now. Feeling like he's kind of putting me in a beta bitch position right now. But that's off topic.
Yeah.
Anyway, yes, we did have this prediction that Halbrand was going to end up being Sauron. Of course, we were right.
Yep.
But I was just like, you know what? Maybe the show is not that predictable.
It is so predictable.
It's immensely predictable.
Dude, the
You
freaking
can-
scene when you have what they thought was Sauron, but turned out we're pretty sure is Gandalf, and he's like,
It's Gandalf.
yeah, he's like, remember Nori, Brandyfoot. He's like, whenever you're in doubt, and I'm just like, man, always follow your nose.
Always
He's
follow
like,
your nose.
always follow your nose. I'm like, fucking knew it. It's
That's
easy.
the thing. It's so easy. You can just.
It's
be
just
like,
member berries. If you've watched the movies enough, then you'll know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, if you have watched the Lord of the Rings, or if you know enough about Lord of the Rings, you can literally guess the lines that the characters are about to say.
But
Because
Riley,
the show is all pandering.
but Riley, it's a prequel. You're supposed to know when it's happening.
Well, okay, fine. If you want to use that, if you want to throw that defense out there, it's like, it's a prequel. You're supposed to know what happens. I get it.
Yeah, I
But-
mean,
But that's the thing, is that, fine, the show is a prequel. You know what?
but I
I
mean,
get it.
like,
We're expecting a lot of member berries. We're expecting a lot.
this
of
show
member
is such a
berries.
cataclysm of convenience, though. It's like, boom, Mordor is created. Gandalf the Eastar arrives.
Yeah, okay, so that's what I was about to say. That's the thing. It was like, that's what I was about to say.
The hobbits
Is that, like-
decide to become hobbits. Like,
Yeah, that's what that was going to be like the segue into my point, is that, like, yes, we were expecting member berries in the show.
Right.
We were expecting it to be a little pandering to the audience. But we didn't expect literally everything that we loved about Fellowship of the Rings to just be crammed into like a 1 month, because the show is so hard to keep track time.
Oh
of.
my god, yeah.
Like everything that you remember from Lord of the Rings just gets stuffed into like a 1 month like time period. Mordor is created. Mithril is discovered. The Balrog
Is
will
unleashed.
Will soon be unleashed.
Sauron returns. The rings are created. The Harfoots kind of become hobbits.
Gandalf falls from the sky.
Gandalf falls from the sky.
All of this happens within like a month of each other.
It's fucking crazy. And then you have oh man, and the whole tower, like the tower for Celebrimbor. It's like it's built in like 2 episodes.
Okay, so that's the thing.
They're like, we're going to
The
talk
show.
to the dwarves to help us build. Which, by the way, we never see them building the tower.
Yeah, we never see a shot of them
Like dwarves actually building the tower.
Yeah, it's like it's like in one scene where it's like, we're going to build this tower. Next scene, it's like halfway done. Next scene after
Like-
that, it's completed.
And that's as far as like the tower's concerned, because it's like, oh yeah, we'll talk with the dwarves, and then you go and see these other plot threads that are going on. What was it? McPherson said, "Love y'all, gotta go." Oh, bye, McPherson.
See,
See you later. But it's like they go to build the tower, and they're like, yeah, we'll talk to the dwarves about it. We go and see a couple other plot threads. Episodes move along, and then all of a sudden the tower's like partially constructed,
mm-hmm.
and it's like, when the fuck did this happen? We didn't get to see any of that shit.
Yeah, so like, time works so weird in this show because we see. Okay, so for instance, Elrond,
Yeah.
right, who is blonde for some reason in the show. They never address that.
Yeah.
I feel like it's
He's
weird.
like a dirty blonde.
That's the thing. I feel like it's weird, but I don't know. Maybe elves change hair color when they get older, like humans do. Ours go
Maybe.
gray, theirs goes black.
Shows
But
your
yeah,
age.
exactly. So that's the thing, is like, Elrond makes like 4 round trips to Khazad-dûm.
From Linden, which is
From
like
Linden?
their elf city. That was the thing that I was talking about in our last stream that failed. Was that the thing that gets me is like, you look at the Lord of the Rings, and you have, if you watch the extended edition because you're an absolute Chad,
Yes.
you have Bilbo's intro where he's like, he's like, Bag End, the Shire, Halt, Middle Earth, right?
Mhm.
Let you know where he's at, fucking exactly, in conjunction to the rest of the world. And you see this big wide shot of the map. The map is is very light khaki with black ink. You know what I mean? It's very easy to see everything, all the words, everything, right?
Yeah.
And then you can actually you get a sense of where everything is because you have this map, right?
Yeah, it's very easy to keep track of where the characters
because
are.
whenever you see the map, it's usually this wide shot that way, and you have them. They're like, hey, you know, Mordor's here. You know, Isengard's here. They're gonna fight. They're gonna try and go for Osgiliath, which is here. We're fighting on two fronts. It's like you can see that shit. You know what I mean? Like you can see that with the show, you know where everything is kind of happening in conjunction to each other. That way, when Gandalf looks out, you see where Mordor is, and you're like, okay, that is where they are in relation to Mordor and where Minas Tirith is. With this show, it's like everything is so airtight on, like the camera's so airtight on the map, like they're following it like it's Indiana Jones, you know, with a little dot trail or you know, like the little airplane shit. That you don't know exactly kind of where they are. You can guess, but it's like, I know where Khazad-dûm is just because I remember the map from Lord of the Rings. Where Lindon is, I don't know. I would have to check the normal map. The only wide shot that they ever had was in the Southlands with that, like, it was neat looking, that leathery kind of map. But it was so dark, I couldn't really see anything.
Exactly.
Where
So
anything was.
yeah, that's the thing. Is like it's almost like they don't want you to know where the characters are or what the locations are because they want to keep it like the time in between obscure. There's like I have no idea how far Lindon is from Khazad-dûm.
Yeah.
But I imagine
It's
that it's like
it's gonna be
several days travel.
Yeah, at
between.
least 2 weeks travel. But they do it like as if they're going, you know, for
like it's a
fucking
20-minute walk. Like you're going to a friend's house down the block.
Yeah, exactly. It makes no sense.
Elrond makes like 4 round trips. Okay, by the way, this show also doesn't particularly give a shit about like the lore or like the like the finer details about like Fellowship of the Ring because you remember Khazad-dûm, known for being a huge like deposit
of
like
mithril.
ore deposit of mithril.
Yeah, absolutely.
Apparently, they got 1 piece of ore out of that whole place.
Yeah, one
piece.
singular piece of ore that what's his face? Durin gave Elrond as a piece, or as a friendship gift. Which, by the way, if you want your friend to keep a secret, don't let him walk away with the secret.
Yeah, exactly.
Because
like,
what if someone finds it?
Yeah, don't give them evidence.
Don't give them evidence. Exactly.
Yeah. So Durin, who I think is like your favorite character.
I would say it's a. Sorry, I was thinking of She-Hulk. I was like either Durin or that dad. It was like those are two different things.
Yeah.
I would say probably Durin, just because some of his jokes kind of landed for me, and I just enjoyed his.
Give me the meat and give it to me
raw.
Oh
yeah, we haven't talked about that.
Yeah.
When so Elrond is. He doesn't really know what he is at this point because it's like, I came for you in friendship, but I actually came for Mithril, or it's like I came for the Mithril. I did not come for your friendship. And it's like,
how the hell did you know about the Mithril before it was discovered?
You showed up to build a tower,
yeah,
and to reconnect with a friend.
Yeah, you went to Khazad-dûm.
You didn't come for Mithril.
Yeah, so the story goes that like Celebrimbor wants this tower built. He needs a huge workforce. Elrond is just like, you know what? I'm kind of tight with some dwarven lords out in Khazad-dûm. Maybe I can negotiate something. So he goes to Khazad-dûm to negotiate a dwarven workforce to help. By the way, we never see them.
No.
So they go to negotiate like this deal, and then Elrond, at some point in the season, he's just like, "I'm sorry, friend, but I was not entirely honest with you. I actually showed up for Mithril,
I said I came for friendship, but I actually came for Mithril." It's like, no, the fuck you didn't.
I was like, the show doesn't even follow its own plot line. It's like, I actually came for Mithril. I'm like, one, no, you didn't. You came for the workforce because, and I know that that's true because you were literally just as surprised to learn about Mithril when Durin showed it to you. Like, you didn't know about Mithril beforehand.
Yeah.
It's just like, okay, at some point in the show, maybe his objectives changed, and like now that he knew about Mithril, maybe that, like, I don't know, maybe that like changed his mind on some things. But he says it like that was his original plan the whole time, and it's so confusing. It honestly, like, it stumps us every time. We're just like, how did they like change writing teams in the middle of the season? And they completely like
It's like
lost the
okay
plot.
guys. Here's my big idea. What if Elrond actually came from Mithril instead of friendship? Like, line it everything. Just tells him that, and everyone's like, God dang it, Jeff, this is why we hired you.
That is promotion.
That's a way
material
to
right
thicken
there.
the plot.
That's how you get on
That-
She-Hulk.
That plot is thick as milk right now.
It's like that's how you get promoted to She-Hulk, guys.
Yeah. Oh man, but,
Um,
dude, and then so that happens, and then when Elrond confronts Durin, then he ends up breaking his oath by not breaking. It's weird because it's like Celebrimbor and they're kind of peeking out for it. They're asking about Mithril, which you have that funny that scene where they ask Durin about like what they're finding in the caves, and he's just like, you know what? Here's my genius plan. See this table that's made of stone?
mm-hmm.
That is actually found. It's found in a particular like depth, you know.
Yeah.
And we only use it for ceremonial purposes like tombs and shit. Basically saying that they're grave robbers, and
Right.
the High King of Elves, instead of seeing through this and is just like, no, we made it last Tuesday.
Yeah.
You know, is like, my dearest apologies, we will send it back to you. And apparently that dissuades from the conversation, and they don't bring up Mithril again.
Yeah.
Which, by the way, out of all the actors they could have chosen, I did not like the guy that they chose to be the High King of the Elves, because he looks like a Harvey Weinstein of elves.
I
It,
don't.
it
know
looks
the
like
actor's name.
he likes his elves at at most 200 years old.
Yeah.
He
it's
like
and that's the thing. It was like for a race that lives forever, this guy probably remembers when that table was made.
exactly. It's like it's such a bad gamble that it's like out of anything, what do you gain? You gain a table.
Yeah, he was. Oh yeah, that was the
Which-
line. He was just like, "Yeah, I just wanted the table."
And
That
he's
was
like,
total
yeah.
bullshit.
What's her face? I can't remember.
Oh god, his
wife's
wife's name.
It starts with a D. Diva, Dina, something.
Deezra.
Deezra, yeah, I think that's it.
I can't remember her name.
my name Dace.
God, I want to say it's like Dira or Diza.
Okay.
I don't know.
I'll search it.
I'm sure.
Anyway,
it starts
he said that she wanted a new table, and that's why he did all that shit, and also to dissuade from it.
Yeah.
Which that set, I wish I could bring it up to show you guys, but that set looks like a theater play.
Yeah, it's like very like painted on trees.
Yeah,
in the background.
it looks fake as shit. Let me, you know what? Talk about the talk about the line that he delivers in that scene, because Elrond says that he breaks the oath, and he talks about Mithril to Celebrimbor and all them.
So apparently their land is dying.
Yes.
And it has something to do with Sauron coming back to power. So the Elven land is dying, and their only hope for restoring life back to their land and their kingdom is Mithril. Because Mithril is full of magic and can restore leaves back to life.
Apparently. Which, they said, Celebrimbor said he tested it he said he tested it fairly frequently, and he basically put the Mithril through the ringer,
Yeah.
right? And they didn't think about taking the leaf and putting it next to, or taking the ore and putting it next to the leaf, because it was just another cosmic coincidence. Durin slides the Mithril, it lands next to the leaf, and the leaf's blood crap goes away.
Yeah, exactly. So they're needing this mithril to restore life back to. I think there's a tree involved actually. Like there's like this great tree and its leaves are falling. And I'm just like, yeah, that happens around autumn.
Right.
But they're just like, yeah, if this tree, if all the leaves fall off, yeah, our land's dead.
Yeah, our land's
It
just
can't
gone.
come back.
I'll see if I can find I wanted to do a comparison of sets.
Yeah.
Why am I doing Yahoo? What? Jace really needs to fix that. He needs to put
Yeah,
Google.
get Google
Get
as your main
Google.
browser.
Jesus, man, come on.
Who uses Yahoo? But yeah.
Sure.
So Mithril, I don't know. I didn't read the Lord of the Rings books. I only watched the movies.
Right.
But Mithril in the Fellowship of the Rings, it was just described as like this metal that's very light, about half the weight of like steel, but it's just as strong, if not stronger.
Right.
So it's just like it's just like one of those like fantasy super metals. Like it's like half the weight, but all the strength.
Right.
But in this show, they make that shit look like it's like comes from the heavens.
Yeah. Like,
And I don't know if Mithril had that like much weight or significance behind it.
right.
You know, we should call your brother Curtis. Maybe he knows more than we do.
Maybe. Yeah. He would.
He
probably
seems
fucking
like the kind of guy who would read these books.
Yeah,
Maybe he
I'll
knows
use
more.
I'll use this picture for now. This one will work. Which is Frodo.
Sleeping on the nose of a statue.
Yeah, sleeping on the nose of a statue, or rather yet, let's do this. Let's do this scene. I'll pull this one up. This one's better.
Yeah.
It's not much, but it's something.
Yeah.
So yeah, let me bring up the scene. Or actually, do I only have this scene?
And
It looks like it. Okay.
was this show also shot in New Zealand like Fellowship of the Rings was?
Probably. I'm gonna
Probably.
say yes.
Okay.
Let's see. Let's go with that.
Yeah.
All right, so there we go, guys. This is gonna be a bit rough because for some reason I don't have my other scene, but I'm gonna just block out Riley. So here's one of the Lord of the Rings sets right here. You have Boromir dead, and then you have Aragorn over his dead body, and it looks like they're in the woods because they shot this in the woods, right? Versus Rings of Power with this set where it looks
Like a green screen.
it looks fake as fuck. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Like it looks just you can almost see where the ground ends and it becomes
the wall begins.
Yeah, and the wall begins.
Like you just like look at their feet. Like
Yeah.
you can honestly see like a corner.
Yeah, you can. It doesn't even. It's hard to even honestly look at that. To be real, I mean, just comparing them, lighting and everything. I know this is supposed to be autumn and whatever, but it just looks fake as fuck. That's all. I mean, you know what I mean.
So, yeah.
But anyway, so when they're talking about it, he's like, yeah, I broke the oath and I told him about Mithril, before he ends up revealing that to Elrond. Durin sees that something's wrong, and he's like, enough with the quail sauce. He's like, give me the meat and give it to me raw.
I know, that was just like that was the one line that I liked in
And
this
it was
whole
just
show.
like, oh my
I
god.
was just like, that is a great
I
line.
told Riley, I was like, they're going to Rule 34 the shit out of that.
That's how you get fan fiction, guys. That's how you gotta do it. You gotta put some heavy implications in there.
Yep, heavy implications. And then you had the High King looking down, like from above as that was going on. I was like, what is he just going to drop his pants and have a wank while they're going?
Yeah,
at
he
it?
was like, you didn't see it because the window like cut off his chest, but he was actually stroking one out, like in the middle. He was just like, yeah, tell me about that raw meat.
Yeah, Daddy.
Cover me in quail sauce. So the High King had like a fab session watching Durin and Elrond have their like little Rule 34 conversation.
Yeah, and we were a good update on Galadriel. We've watched the entire show.
Yeah. Her
Still
brother is still dead.
still a bitch.
Yeah.
Still a bitch. There's a scene where so Halbrand is forging and he makes a sword and he's like, oh, this is a quiet and peaceful life. I kind of enjoy staying in Numenor. I might just do this and stay here. And Galadriel shows up and she's like, look, I'm sorry that I used you, but I've come here to use you.
Yeah, she's just like, listen, sorry that I was kind of manipulating you and deceiving you a little bit, and I was really just using you to advance my own ends. Would you like to keep doing that?
and Halbrand's like, no, actually, I kind of like it here. And she goes, no, you should become a king. And he's like, I don't know.
He's like, no, you should reclaim your throne in the Southlands, and blah, blah, blah.
And he's like, no, I kind of did some evil back there, and I don't know if I want to do that again.
He's like, no, I actually like, my people, my allies, we kind of fought on the side of Morgoth. His reign is over. Sauron's gone. I kind of just want to chill out.
Yeah, a weight is lifted off my shoulders now that Sauron is dead. I kind of just want to chill out here in Numenor. She's like, nah, you should
really come with me.
you should come with me and reclaim the throne of the Southlands. And then he goes and does that. But then he's like, yeah, I want to... I'm here to rule, which was his plan, right?
Mm-hmm.
She wanted to bring him back to rule as king of the Southlands. And then she finds out that he's Sauron.
Yeah. So anyway, so it's like Okay, so she finds out that Halbrand is Sauron,
Right.
and she finds this out by like I think it was like Kellen Brimbor. He like dropped a line like "power over flesh,"
Right.
not of the flesh, but over flesh. He drops that line, and she like remembers. He was like, "Didn't that one Uruk motherfucker say that line?"
Mm-hmm.
I was like, "That's." And he worked for Sauron, but he killed Sauron.
I'll be
It's
honest. I'll be honest.
they
I
keep-
forgot who the fuck had said that because I knew that was a line that she recognized
Yeah,
from
that
someone.
was a
I was,
line
and I
that
was
she
like, where did
recognized.
that line come from? I
It
couldn't
came
remember.
from the Uruk guy. He was the one who led the orcs. Blah
yeah,
blah blah.
Adar. Yeah.
Anyway, they try so hard to like throw you off and
The
try.
trail.
They
have
try
these guys.
so
the
hard.
dude, the chicks dressed in white show up to Gandalf, and they're like, "We're here to help you, Sauron, and return you to your former
It's
glory."
like, guys, we're not falling for that shit. We know he's Gandalf.
we know he's Gandalf. Come
Like,
on.
don't pull that. We know for a fact that he's Gandalf. There's no other person that he could be.
Yeah.
But yeah, that happens a lot. They try to throw you off that trail. They try to say Sauron's dead. I killed him.
The forge is
Blah,
built,
blah,
which there's a thing I wanted to talk about with the forge real quick.
Mhm.
We'll get to Galadriel causing Sauron's return in a minute.
Yeah.
But what I thought was funny was they build this tower because Celebrimbor needs a forge.
Yeah.
Right. To
Create the rings.
create the rings.
Or-
So they build a tower.
Yeah.
Harold shows up because I can never remember his fucking real name.
Halbrand.
Halbrand shows up and he's like, "Oh, this is the forge of Celebrimbor."
Yes.
And Celebrimbor's like, yes it is. And he's like, I've heard tales of this in the creations that Celebrimbor's made, and he talks about this. I'm like, this forge was built 5 seconds ago.
Yeah, exactly. It's like-
When did it earn its legendary
I've
status?
heard tales of this great tower and the artistry that comes from it. I was like, wasn't this shit built like a week ago?
Yeah. It's like,
I'm like-
the timeline just doesn't make
I
fucking
was like,
sense.
I know, it's like this tower is apparently old enough to have legends spoken of it, and the fucking Harfoots are still on their 2-week journey. There's like,
They are really small.
there is a weird like time loop in the show of like the storyline and its time does not add up.
This show is enveloped in a Twilight Zone.
Exactly. Anyway, what was the point that I was trying to make about like Sauron?
Oh, yeah,
oh
so-
yeah, Halbrand. Okay, so Halbrand, he gets found out by Galadriel. Galadriel finds out because he like Celebrimbor like drops a line and she's like, "That's weird. Was Halbrand with you when you heard that line?" Hi Shay. Was Halbrand with you when you said that line? And so she like goes does some digging on like
on the
Halbrand's.
Southlands, the
And-
wine.
yeah. And then she finds out. I was like, I want you to say who you really are.
Yeah, and
Because the Southland have not had a king for 1,000 years, and you ain't it. And I'm just like, Halbrand literally never once told you that he was
never
king.
told you
He
that.
actually actively denied that he was a king.
and he didn't want to become king. You want to stay in
You
Mordor.
gave him that title. You accused him of that. He never once claimed to be a king, and you said that he was.
Yeah, it's so dumb because it's like, Galadriel, you do realize that you are now the reason for Sauron's return.
Yeah, he just wanted to. He actually says this line. He says, "I just wanted to stay in Numenor.
Yeah.
You brought me back here."
Exactly. It's like, well, great job, Galadriel. Not only are you a bitch, but you cause the war of the Third Age and almost
Yeah.
the destruction of men.
You know what's funny is like she spent, I don't know how long, decades, could be centuries of her life hunting down Sauron, trying to bring an end to his reign, trying to kill the man who like slain her brother, only to find out that he was just washed ashore and was probably just a blacksmith in Numenor this whole time, like totally retired.
He could have.
She
could have
wasted her life hunting Sauron because he was just some dude washed up in a raft this whole time.
Yeah, yeah. Which talk about the convenience of that. It's like, for one thing, she saves him, which is funny because he in the episode he's like, you found me because your people abandoned you. It's like, no, she jumped ship
Yeah, she
Because she's-
abandoned her people.
because she's fucking stupid. And then she conveniently ended up on a raft, which conveniently ended up finding Elendil. Like, the
Yeah.
amount of cosmic coincidence this show has is irreconcilable.
Nothing happens naturally.
No.
Everything happens through convenience and like
It is-
cosmic power.
It is the perfect description of a and then kind of show.
Yeah.
Because, what you want in a show is what's considered to be the but for. So like, you do an action, but this happens, or you do an action, therefore this happens, right? Things kind of trickle down, or they fall into place. A good example was when me and Riley watched Arcane. It's like you have your character. This character is built up. What was it? Powder. She's built up with insecurities. She wants to prove herself. She loves her sister, but is worried that her sister thinks she's not good enough. Like, she has all these insecurities built up. And then when she finally gets her big win, when her machine that created finally works, it destroys everything, and it causes 2 of her best friends to die. So literally, the one time that she had a success ended up killing almost everyone that she cared about and ruined her life. Yeah. And so now her insecurities, plus her sister ends up slapping her, and they have this big combat, or this big butt heads.
Yeah, it was not really a fight. It was more
it was more of like a, I can't believe you did this sort of shit. Like, you messed up bad. This is bad sort of situation.
Exactly.
Which plays right into insecurities, and thus, explains one of the reasons this. Okay.
So, and that.
No, do you feel cold?
Oh, that's very cold.
Wow.
That's extremely cold.
I'm so cold.
Yeah, dap me up, dog.
No.
Rock, paper, scissors.
What the fuck was that?
That was scissors.
Was it?
Yeah.
You had to your thumb extended
It's
or
scissors.
something.
This is pterodactyl. This is Velociraptor. Yeah.
Yes, bitch.
All right. Cool. Anyway.
So in my point is that in Arcane, they set up where what she has as problems. That way, when this event happens, which would be the which plays in naturally, because she wants to go help, she wants to prove herself, and prove her insecurities to be wrong. So she naturally goes in there to help, and makes this decision. This decision becomes a cataclysmic failure, and it fucks with her mind and makes her basically go crazy.
Yeah.
Spoilers, by the way. But anyway,
Go watch Arcane.
go watch
Great
Arcane.
show.
Show's fantastic.
And you know what? It's like everything that happens in the show is explained in a very succinct way.
In very depth, and it's great. A great art style. It's fun to watch. It's an all around great written show.
Because it's like, okay, these kids, they live in the slums, so obviously they break into richer people's houses. Hey, we just got a tip on this, really big score.
Right.
So they go and they find those little magical balls that basically create the explosion, and it's like raw magic. Everything is so well explained. Everything has a reason behind it.
Right.
Nothing just falls out of the fucking sky.
Yeah, there are hardly any coincidences that happen in that show, if any. Everything happens for a reason, which is fantastic. And because it's she wants to prove herself, therefore she goes and does this action. She's insecure, therefore this cataclysmic failure fucks with her brain and basically,
drives her crazy.
Right? So everything has a purpose and has a reason behind it. It's all well structured, and it just plays through beautifully. Whereas this show is you have Galadriel is sent back to Valinor, and then she jumps ship, and then she finds a raft, and then Elendil finds her, and then she gets sailed back to Numenor, and then she goes back to it's all just and then it doesn't feel like it's pieced together like a formula. It looks like it's just stapled on each event after another. You know what I mean?
But that is a huge complaint that we have about the show, is that every plot development that happens just falls out of the fucking sky for no reason.
Yeah, it's either something falling out of the sky to happen for coincidence, or it's just member berries. With the sword, with the whole elf plot, we haven't even talked about that. First off, they're hidden up in a castle, and the orcs they know that they're gonna attack, and so they're like, you know what? Let's just destroy this outpost that can already funnel in the orcs, and we'll just fight in a village where they can attack from any angle. That sounds like a smart idea.
Yeah, exactly. So it's alright guys, this well-fortified fort and this tower that we have many advantages over, and they can pretty much only get in one way, we're gonna die in here. So we're going to destroy this whole post, and then we're gonna go down into a village that's basically just like three
Open-
buildings in an open field.
Yes.
And they're like, then that will even
Because
the playing field.
yeah, because what they end up doing is they end up setting, which by the way, one of the chicks that was helping the main busty lady, she ends up getting her throat slit. So I blame the busty lady for her death specifically. They set the these little wagons on fire, and they basically trap the orcs in this funnel, in this kill box, where then they get up on rooftops and start shooting them down. I'm like, okay, so you constructed a kill box, and then you shot them with arrows, and it was all like a bit coincidental because you had an orc come in with the torch because you couldn't light it, and you made noise, and you end up luckily throwing him on that shit where it caught fire, and then you sent it down. So bit coinky dink there. You know what you could have done? Just use the funnel from the bridge, because that's the only way that they can come in.
Yeah.
Because my big thing is if they were worried about not having enough arrows, right? For one thing, they used arrows anyway, so they had plenty amount, and I know there was a couple of like fighters out there,
Yeah.
but at the same time, with a fortification like that, you could hold out the night. You're in a fucking castle. Like, these orcs don't really have a great battering ram. They have, like, a log, which, I mean, is not bad, but against a door like that, it's going to take them hours to get through.
Yeah.
Which, by that time, you can re-strategize, you can think of other plans, or you can flee. Plus, if you have this sword, magical properties that everyone knows about, give it to somebody who's fast and capable, like the elf, and fucking run.
Okay, yeah, that was the thing. It was just like, we have to defend this sword with all of our might so that it doesn't fall into the wrong hands. And we're just like, it's a really easy solution? Just give it to a guy, put him on a horse, and just have him run in a direction. You'd be like, yeah, we don't have the sword. We gave it to the dude.
Yeah, we gave it to a dude.
Go hunt him down.
Go hunt him down. It's one.
Suck my dick.
Yeah,
I don't have it.
get fucked.
Yeah, basically.
Which was really funny because when we were when the we'll talk about we'll get there when the battle was over. So they end up doing this whole big to do where they fight, and the orcs do something smart. They send in some people, and then they fight in the shadows where because they can literally shoot in at any angle, and I'm like, this is the problem that I told you was going to happen, guys, was that they could get you from any angle. So at least the orcs were semi-competent in this situation.
Yeah, so it's like the orcs do have a basic understanding of battle strategy, and apparently the elf does not, because how the hell did you not see that coming?
Yeah, exactly. And so they end up finding the sword, and luckily enough, somehow, by again cosmic coincidence, the Galadriel and the Númenóreans show up in the middle of the day, and they knew exactly where to go.
Yeah, exactly.
They didn't go to the outpost. They went straight to the village because it's like,
Exactly.
yes, that's where they're going to be held up.
Right, because it was just like Galadriel and all the Númenor. Well,
Númenóreans.
I guess like 300 of them because two ships got
blown up, which was
That's another topic.
Yeah.
But yeah, so like 300 men. Apparently, we only see like 8 of them, but. Yeah, so Galadriel and her Númenor army, they show up to a fucking village in the middle of a field. I think a village that they didn't know existed. And they're just like, we're here to save you. I'm like, how? I don't think these characters have ever met.
It just seems like they're trying to, do a remember Helm's Deep sort of situation where all seems lost and then the cavalry shows up.
Yeah.
But it just doesn't... It doesn't track. I don't know why they were heading to that village specifically, or why they didn't go to the outpost. I feel like the reason why they canned the outpost was because horses can't fight in that terrain, so we need to have a proper terrain. So let's take them to the village. And I'm like, I get that, but that's also dumb.
I get it's just like
you don't get to have your cake and eat it too in this situation.
Yeah, that's a. I want to say that's another one of my biggest complaints is that like, this show is like 50% contrivances and like 50% member berries, but like the member berries that they throw in have like none of the charm or history or built up that like Fellowship of the Rings has, because we have like Elrond and Durin. We have like the Gimli and Legolas relationship, like elf and dwarf.
Right.
We have, you know, we have like the Mithril, and we're just like, okay, Mithril got discovered.
Cool.
We have Khazad-dûm. We're just like, oh, sweet, I remember Khazad-dûm. That was like a
Yeah.
big
And
historical
that
post.
was the only establishing shots I actually gave a shit about, because as a
Yeah.
kid I always wondered what Moria looked like when it was in its prime, and I was
Yeah,
like,
exactly.
oh,
It was
okay,
like-
so I get to actually see that, and that was neat.
Yeah, it was neat. We're just like, oh, sick. This is Khazad-dûm. This is where like the Balrog was like unleashed. They unearthed it, and like, wow, this is like Mithril came out of this place. This is like a huge historical moment. And then we're just like, they took literally one piece of ore out of this whole place. How was this place ever known for mining Mithril? Like,
Exactly.
is that going to be established in later shows? Because that's the thing. They discovered the mine. They took one piece out of it, and then they got it closed up because, like, the king of the dwarves was just like, "Fuck that, close it down." And then we see like we do see like a pretty good shot. Like it does look good. I hope that it looks good when it gets actually revealed. But we see the Balrog.
Yeah, so
And we're just like,
I thought it was funny because he throws the leaf down through the hole,
mm-hmm.
and then it falls down right to the Balrog, and I'm like, dude, if you were mining through the walls, like all the rocks that tumbled down should have awakened the Balrog by itself.
Yeah,
But no, it was the leaf.
exactly. Like this thing was sleeping in unmoved earth for possibly the beginning of time, since the creation of this planet. And just one little leaf just flows all the way down, like what looks like thousands of feet, down into the very pit of this mine, the boiler room of this mine. And then the Balrog just sort of like wakes up,
He was like, rah.
and then we're just like,
It looked
"Rah."
nice.
Yeah, I mean, it did look good. I hope that we get to see the Balrog in the next season. But that's the thing, is it's like, here's Khazad-dûm. Here's what it looked like. Isn't that neat? And then we're just like, but there's so many like weird things that happen that don't add up that it kind of just like breaks our interest in whatever's going on.
back to the fight though. One of the tactics that the Numenorians used, which I thought was really slapstick and funny, was the chain attack, where they got two horses and they brought out like a chain and they just clotheslined
Oh,
a
yeah.
bunch of orcs like
That
it was
was
like they
actually-
were like bowling pins.
Yeah, that actually got a chuckle out of me. I was just like,
And then you
that's
had
funny.
Galadriel who like falls on the other side of her horse and cuts someone's head off because they were
Yeah.
shooting an arrow at her. She does that twice, by the way.
Yeah,
which I
she
thought
does
was,
that same maneuver twice.
which I thought was very dumb looking.
Yeah.
And then they fight. They stop the guy, and they're holding this piece of cloth which is supposed to have the sword inside, and they hand it to the boy for some reason. And me and Riley looked at me and he was
It's
like,
like, it's gonna be an axe.
"Watch it be an axe." Like
There's going to be
we
an
were
axe in the
joking,
plot.
right?
Yeah, we were just fucking around.
We were just shooting the shit, and he opens it up and it's a fucking axe.
we were just like,
What?
really? We didn't want to be right.
Yeah,
Well,
it was
we were.
just a joke, but
That was it.
but yeah, no. So they unleash the river.
Oh yeah,
water-
by the way,
yeah,
if you guys have not seen the entirety of the season,
which don't.
the sword was not just a sword. It was actually just a key to open up a dam. And we were just like, why not just blow up the dam?
Yeah,
Why not just tear down the dam? Why
You-
did you need the sword?
you could have used a pickaxe.
Yeah, you
And-
had
and-
thousands of orcs.
And yeah, why did you wait all of this time
Yeah.
to unleash the dam?
You could have done that. Oh, so that's the thing, is like this whole plot of like, God, I cannot remember the Uruk's name, the leader of the
Adar.
orcs. Adar. So Adar, he had like this whole orcish workforce digging trenches, and the whole plot was like, we're going to dig these trenches. It's going to go into Mount Doom.
Which
And
is
it's going to,
fucking far.
yeah, and it's like so far from this dam. It's like literally hundreds of miles away from this dam. So I don't know how the hell they did this in secret.
Yeah,
So they build like this channel of like trenches to go into Mount Doom, and they're going to open up the dam. The dam will open up, the water will follow these trenches, and it will go into basically this lava pit, and it'll erupt Mount Doom. And we're just like, you could have taken out like 2 or 3 steps in that whole plan.
Yep. But plus the guy that was carrying the sword, my whole thought is the guy that was carrying. Why didn't you just do this earlier? Why didn't you
Yeah.
just keep the sword by the lock? Who was gonna be over there?
Yeah. Okay. So I want to say Gellin? I don't know his name, but anyway,
Let's call him Tom.
Tom. So Tom is the old guy. He was the one who like hid the sword in his barn,
Right.
and I think he was on at our side the whole time because he
Yeah.
kind of switched sides very quickly. He actually like rallied other people to like switch sides, which also another scene of that battle. So after this fight, we think that it's over, the village fight. We think that it's over, and then they like uncover, they like take off the helmets of like all the orcs that they killed, only to find out it was the people
was
that
the pe-
abandoned us.
That abandoned us.
And
And it
it's-
was the people that swore their lives to Sauron.
And we're just, it was supposed to like come off as like we were killing our own kind. It was supposed to be like this moral quandary where
Yeah,
it's like,
it's
dude, they
like-
left you to
Yeah,
join the
it-
people that wanted to murder you
They
all.
showed up and it was supposed to be some sort of like low point, but I'm like low point. This is they tried to kill you. They showed
Yeah.
up to kill you.
They showed up to kill. How is this a moral quandary?
Yeah, exactly. And then the actual orcs show up, and then all the battle happens and all that jazz, and Mordor ends up blowing up in because water falls into the center. So somehow water falls up a mountain,
Yeah.
and it unleashes into Mordor, and then the volcano erupts, and then. If you've known any sort of tribes that live by volcanoes,
Yeah.
when a volcano erupts, they all get buried in ash and dead, like
Yeah.
instant skeletons.
Dude, that's why, like, go to any, like, volcanic island, like Guam or Hawaii. Like, every house there is built with, like, concrete reinforced with rebar. Like, every house is, like, volcano, hurricane, tsunami proof. It's like, I mean, it's not gonna, I mean, it's gonna hold out. But, like, these villages, they're just, like, wooden villages next to a mountain.
Yeah, and the thing that gets me though is like because whenever you watch any sort of historical documentation of a volcano eruption and the ash wave that comes down, right?
Yeah.
It is an instant death,
Mm-hmm.
and this shit hits everyone. And Galadriel takes it full frontal, and all she gets is Dorito cheese on her.
Dude, okay, so that's the thing, is like, this volcano erupts, and it's a massive volcano eruption.
Massive.
Enough to literally turn the Southlands into Mordor. Like, that entire landmass.
It just destroys everything.
That entire landmass is destroyed. By the way, the whole point of them, like, doing that plan to, like, erupt Mount Doom, it was so that they can block out the sun.
Right.
Because orcs they can't live in the sun, so they had to block it out. And me and Jeremy were both just like, that is a very temporary solution.
Yeah, when that volcano erupts, you activated it by like just water pressure. So it's going to be temporary unless that again somehow caused a cosmic coincidence or just another shit where you activate the volcano and now it's just active forever,
Yeah.
constantly erupting.
Always.
Always.
I
Right.
imagine, I don't know how much water is in that dam, but Mount Doom is still erupting 3,000 years later because we see it in Fellowship of the Rings.
Yep.
Fellowship.
But yeah, Galadriel's not dead.
Yeah. Unfortunately, yeah. Apparently she can survive the onslaught of an ash storm,
Yes.
taking it to the face. Like, the ash storm... By the way, the ash storm literally sets buildings on fire. Like, everything is on fire in its wake.
Yeah.
Like, that storm, that cloud of ash and embers and brim just, like, rolls into the village and just sets it ablaze. People are walking around, they're on fire.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
have
Galadriel,
they try to bait Isildur's death, which was dumb because
Whatever.
we know he shows
We
up
know that
in
he
the
shows
fight.
up.
So
Yeah. I imagine it's going to be like that really dumb, like, you left me to die. You betrayed me. You abandoned me.
or that whole thing where they're going to be like,
You know that super played out, like, you betrayed me kind of trope where it's like, good guy turns evil because his friends, like, leave him behind to die or some shit.
Yeah.
Where it's like, dude, we tried to pull you out of a burning building. It collapsed on you.
There's nothing we could have done.
What do you think we could have done?
And not only that, but it's. I feel like it's going to be either that or it's going to be the whole thing with like they'll be over in the Southlands. Shit will be going down. They'll be like, oh, you know, we're gonna die, and then Isildur shows up and saves them, and it's like,
Yeah.
oh, Isildur's back.
Oh yeah. But yeah, anyway, so the Ash Storm rolls in. Galadriel, not only is she alive, but her makeup, flawless hair set. Like she just took like a cloud of incendiary ash just to the face, and she's cool.
She's
Brushes it right off.
brushes it off just perfectly fine. But back to so that's kind of what goes on with their arc. So the last thing that I want to cover as far as Rings of Power goes before we conclude it is the rest of the stuff that happens with Nori. So when they're traveling with Gandalf, they have this moment that I get a kick out of where Gandalf's causing problems. Sort of, he like goes to heal a tree and then a branch falls on a couple of Harfoots and they're like, oh no, he's bad. And as they're walking away, which by the way, it's hard to find any of the Harfoots because normally it's just the cart of Nori's family,
Yeah.
like as if they were just ditched because they were the last in line.
Mm-hmm.
And they were talking to Sadok, one of the ladies, and Sadok's like, I know he could be a possible problem. He's like, what do you want me to do about it? And she's like, take their wheels and leave them.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're straight up wanting to abandon your team.
Yeah.
Like, just fucking ditch their asses. It's like,
Their entire culture is built on the foundation of abandoning families to die.
they're like the fucking Russians. They just throw bodies at the problem until it's solved.
And I also hate that trope where it's like a guy is good but ultimately misunderstood because people don't really get what he is.
Right.
So they're like cautious of him.
Oh yeah, because it was that whole thing where
Yeah,
the
it was
branch falls and he's all sad and Sadok's walking away and it has a close up of the tree and it's blooming a little flower and I'm like, ugh.
Yeah.
I know.
And
what
also
you're trying
that scene where it's like he's like healing his arm with ice and then Nori goes to like grab it and she's like, let go of me. I'm like, bitch, let go of him.
Exactly. You're the one that grabbed him. And then in episode 8, he's like, I'm sorry that I hurt you. It's like, you didn't fucking hurt her.
You didn't do anything.
She hurt herself.
Yeah.
This
It's
was
like,
her fault.
it was like, I just hate that trope of like misunderstood character because people are fucking stupid.
Yeah, but so the white bitches, not just because that's their skin color, but because, or I don't even think that's one of their skin colors, but because they're wearing white hoods and shit.
Mm-hmm.
They show up and they're looking for Gandalf because they think he's Sauron, which is dumb.
Yeah.
Because they have some sort of, it seems like they have some sort of magical woo of tracking him. I don't fucking know. But anyway, they show up and Nori, like a dumbass, tries to lead them off trail, and they're like, "No, he's that way." And these witches are like, "Huh, this is an interesting fella." And they show up like right behind her, and her dad shows up, and he's like, "I'll bring the lot of you with a torch." They put out the torch, and then they just snap their fingers, and the entire village is set on fire. All their carriages, boom, ablaze. Like, it's terrible, and it erupts and all this, and then they just fuck off. And I'm like, you didn't have to just destroy their entire livelihood. They're gonna try and protect their family. Like, how evil can you be?
I think it was like a show of power to be like, one, why did you think that you could fool them? Be like,
Yeah.
oh no, you're going the wrong way. He's that way. And it's like, okay, little girl, how do you know who we're talking about?
How do you know what direction they're going?
Yeah.
What do you know? I feel like they should have interrogated.
I feel like there should have been some interrogation. Be like, that is very suspicious of you to say, small child.
Yeah. And so they end up bouncing, and then everything's trashed and burned to ash, and they're like, oh man, what are we going to do now? And freaking Nori's dad has the balls to show up, and he's like, we're not legendary, we don't slay dragons, and we don't go on these grand quests, and
We don't create masterworks.
yeah, we don't
blah,
build
blah, blah.
buildings. He's like, but what Harfoots are known for is sticking together.
I know. And me and Jeremy were floored by that line. We were just like, what?
No.
I'm sorry, what did you say?
It's like, and I just keep thinking back to it. I'm just like, take their wheels and leave them.
Exactly. We're just like, you did not just fucking drop that line. You just said.
Because half the time when we're watching these like establishing shots, we have miles of field to see, and I don't see a single fucking carriage. It's just Nori's family. It's like,
Yeah.
y'all guys left them behind.
Yeah, it's like, there's one thing Harfoots are known for, it's staying with our own, or some shit. He says along the lines of, like, sticking together.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And me and Jeremy were just, like, baffled by the audacity of that line. We're just like, these people literally left you to die. And you're going to just do that? You just said that? It's like the same village that were just like, take their wheels and leave them? Yeah, just like back at the carriage.
Yeah. Get back at the carriage. We're not gonna see you for miles.
Back
and
at the
days
caravan, we're going to be miles ahead of you. If you don't catch up, fuck you.
That's
You
your
die.
problem.
That's
Like,
your problem.
It's such a problem where if you say that you're in the back of the carriage, the guy was like, wait, you don't mean the backpack, right? You don't mean the very back, because obviously people get by the way he's saying it, people get left behind all the time if they're in the very back,
Yeah.
or it's the most risky spot to be in.
Mm-hmm.
But they don't like that Gandalf hurt her and the whole tree thing, so they basically make him go away, and that's why the white people show up and burn the shit, and then they leave to go find Gandalf, and they're like, no, we're gonna go get him back. So, which, I mean, it's just, oh god. They get together, Sadok and Nori and her family go
Yeah,
and
like,
get...
oh, this is like a whole village, like, I think.
It's like four or five of them. They go to get... It's basically discount Frodo and Sam, Nori's parents, and then Sadok. They go to get Gandalf back, and it's like, he could have just not banished him in the first place, but whatever. They get over there, and Sadok unfortunately gets stabbed, which sucks. It was funny when he gets stabbed. I looked at Riley and I'm like, I guess this is the reason why there weren't any like hobbits of color in the future.
Yeah, it was like, and also Sadok, his dying words were a fucking trail metaphor.
Yeah, he's like, I guess I'd be wandering off trail.
It's like, it's okay, Sadok, we can make it. Let's go back to the village. He's like, no, Nori, or I don't know who he's talking.
Yeah.
It's like, I think I'll be going a bit off trail, and I'm just like, your dying words were a fucking trail metaphor. He died as he lived.
Yeah,
What a
because
Chad.
before it was happening, I looked at Riley and I said, he's probably gonna say something along the lines of, you know, I guess my wheels are now square. You know, and then he was like, I'd be wandering off trail. I'm like, there you go. And then somebody in the next episode was talking about a square wheel.
Oh yeah, like the next scene with the Harfoots, they made a square wheel metaphor. It was like, you know, there's really only so many like wheels and cart metaphors that you can come up with. You could probably just like come up with some of your own, and then they'll say them in the show.
And after that whole thing, the white witches are...
I don't know what their deal
They
was or where they came
gave
from.
him memories, even though he's not Sauron or whatever. But now he's fully linguistic, Gandalf. Like he can.
Yeah, like he can
fully now.
speak in perfect
So
sentences.
sure, magic-y woo. It's just it didn't. It was dumb. Like no one even acknowledged it. He was just speaking, and they're like, yeah, okay.
Yeah.
He talks now instead of like you're talking. Hello, you know.
It's like, so the witches, they're the White Witches. Their whole deal was that they wanted to find Gandalf, capture him, like help him channel and harness his powers and his abilities, so that they can basically groom him into being like Sauron.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. And then he drops this banger of a line where he's just like, he's like fighting back against the witches, and then they're just like, wait, he is not Sauron, he is the other, the Eastar.
Yeah.
And then he just says, no, I am good.
Boom, and they're all dead.
It was like, I'm good. I was like, are
I'm
you
good.
fucking 5? Like that, okay, I'll give him credit. That is a line you would say when you just learned English 6 seconds ago.
And then all this shit happens. Halbrand disappears. and they end up making the 3 rings for the elves. These 3 rings of power, and thus ready to roll credits. And Halbrand shows up. He disappears for 5 seconds, and boom, he is already in Mordor.
Oh yeah, but okay. So he is standing on a mountain, just looking over Mordor.
And I'm like, I guess one does simply walk into Mordor.
Yeah, I guess so.
Well, because the reason why I say that isn't because I know, of course, Mordor doesn't have its defenses and all that jazz that make it hard to get into. That's not what I'm saying. What I'm saying is, like, he just snapped his fingers and teleported to Mordor.
Yeah.
Like, he didn't carry hardly anything with him. He just has a cloak and a hood.
Yeah, he travels light.
Like, I guess as light as freaking Elrond,
Yeah. It was like...
No bow, no sword,
no.
just walked.
Yeah. Just walked right in.
And now he has no provisions in Mordor because nothing grows there anymore.
Yeah, so I don't know, like in the second season maybe they're going to establish like what he does and how he like gains followers. I mean, that's the thing, is like what mostly gave him away to as Sauron is that this guy is like the only guy in the show who has real tact and like charm.
Yes, the only interesting character.
Yeah, so he's
aside from maybe Durin, even though he's not even that great either. He's still kind of stupid.
Yeah, Galadriel,
Full
like,
on bitch.
Flat cunt the entire show.
Absolutely too
Just
much.
like across the board, flat rate bitch.
Words nothing. Even when
Yeah.
Halbrand's like, this is how you properly manipulate. She's like, no, I'm gonna just continue being a bitch.
Exactly. Durin, he's like, he has his jokes. He has his like, he's got like a way about him. I guess so.
Yeah.
But he's not like. He's kind of like a stubborn, like hard-headed dude,
Right.
which a typical for a dwarf of this franchise.
Right.
And then you have
Like Nori, who basically everyone just tells you what her personality is instead of
Yeah,
us actually
exactly.
seeing it.
But Halbrand, we actually see him develop
Yeah.
and
you see
like,
him
sort of
change over
act
time.
out,
Yeah.
like his personality.
Right.
No one tells you who he is. They actually typically try to keep.
The
it
only
a
time they
secret.
told him who he was when they told him to be king.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, you're the king of the Southlands, and
he's
he's
like-
just like, no, I'm not. And they're just like, yeah, you are. Yeah, you are.
And he's
That,
like,
that conversation, I think, like, dumbed down, but almost verbatim. That's how the conversation goes between Galadriel and Halbrand when he's in the jail cell.
yeah.
It was like, you're the king of the Southlands. He's like, no, I'm not. And then she's like, yeah, you are. Almost word for word.
Almost
That is the spirit of the conversation that happened between those two.
Yeah.
But I just think it's just really, really funny. And I know I said it earlier, but it's one of the funniest things, and it actually brings me joy to know that Galadriel, with all of her flaws and all of her like shortcomings and all of her misconceptions about the world, it really bites her in the ass because she brings back Sauron. She is the sole reason Sauron comes back.
Everything
to
that
power.
happens in Lord of the Rings is all because of Galadriel.
Yeah, and it's her fault. And you know what's even better is that she spent her entire life hunting the motherfucker down, trying to kill him.
And then
Only to find out
that he's hot, and she kind of wanted to beg him.
Yeah, only to find out that he was just kind of retired the whole time anyway.
He just didn't. He just didn't want to come back.
Yeah,
She
brought him back.
She brought him back. God, it was so fucking funny. Like, to see her reaction, I'm just like, yeah, no, this is all your fault.
Yeah, it was great.
This
I
is
just
hilarious.
I wanted to like rub her nose in it.
Yes.
Like, me as an audience member.
It's your
I
fault.
was just like, yeah, bitch, you like the taste of your own fucking idiocy? You like oh, I'm sorry, are you experiencing consequences?
So in the end, Rings of Power as a show is it's not just like bad as far as like development goes. It is 8 hours of almost nothing.
Yeah.
Like there are like the only events that actually happen start at episode like 5 or 6. Everything else is just kind of, I want to say world building, but not even, because it's mostly just establishing shots and characters talking about nothing and not answering each other's questions.
Mm-hmm.
Like nothing really of consequence happens until the last few episodes of the show. So you have to sit through 6 hours of sludge just to get this.
Yeah. So I will take a little bit of joy and solace in knowing that like the entirety of the Fellowship of the Rings, all of that, this show, every piece of storyline that we've seen, all could have been avoided if Galadriel just stayed on the fucking boat.
All of this would have been fixed if Galadriel just stayed on a boat.
Just went west and just stayed
Just
there.
sailed into Valinor and didn't come back. Oh, man. Because, I mean, she comes back in the books, but for other reasons. You know, she
Yeah.
doesn't come back for the shit that she does in this show. So,
Yeah.
you know, we'll, we say goodbye to the first season of Rings of Power, as we'll probably move on to She-Hulk now, because that show was worse than just bad. It was a complete waste of time. And not only that, but it's like, you know, there was a scene where when Gandalf is fighting the ladies in white, and the woods were on fire, and Riley was like, Amazon's burning, and in my mind I was like, yeah, Amazon is burning right now, but in a more meta sort of sense, because they just dropped $1 billion on this travesty of a show, and that was just for the first season, and they have 5 seasons confirmed for the show.
They greenlit $5 billion worth of show.
I think the budget's going to drop as soon as season 2 comes out.
Yeah.
I think it's going to. They're probably going to can the writers, and I think their budget is going to shrink into like a quarter of its original budget.
Yeah.
For the next season.
I mean, it's not like it went to anything. They literally had like green screen with that.
Yeah. I mean,
That was insane.
all that the budget went towards in reality was just those establishing shots, man.
Yeah.
That was really it.
Yeah.
There was a scene too that I wanted to bring up. It was another establishing shot, but it was Isildur's horse ends up they set him loose. Beric. I like how I remember the horse's name, but I can't remember some of the other characters.
Yeah.
But they set Beric free, and he's running out towards sunset. And I told Riley, I was like, watch Beric be the creation of Rohan.
Oh
like,
yeah,
like the
it was
horse
just like,
lords.
The horse lords, like that. Okay, that's in the show on purpose.
Yeah,
that
because they had a whole like 10-second shot of it.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
it was like that horse is going to go out into the wild and dick down a whole steed, just a whole army of horses, and it's going to create the whole Rohan thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, so this show is just that's the thing about this show is that it's boring. Nothing really happens. It had $1 billion budget, and $700 million of it went to drones for establishing shots.
And CG shit.
Yeah. But the thing about She-Hulk, just to sort of segue our way in, is that like as bad of a show it is, you like to hate it.
Yes.
I don't like to hate Lord of the Rings.
There were times where we were just kind of talking through it, and I didn't even want to pause it to kind of finish our conversation because I just wanted it over with.
Yeah.
But with She-Hulk, it's like we'll sit down and we'll watch it and just genuinely have a laugh. I
mean that's the thing. It's like it's bad, but you love to hate it because it's so bad that it becomes its own joke. Like it makes it's so easy to just pick on. And so I would say if you had to like lock me in a jail cell and just be like, okay, Riley, we'll let you out, but you have to watch the entire series of Rings of Power or She-Hulk.
Yeah.
And I'll be like, just roll in She-Hulk.
She-Hulk, for one thing, it's shorter.
Yeah, it's shorter. I can turn my brain off. There's less establishing shots.
Yeah, and I can just laugh at the bullshit.
Mm-hmm. You can laugh through it.
Yeah, with the episodes that come up, so She-Hulk ends up going to go see Emil Blonsky, who's Abomination. We get to see his basically a religious cult is what he created.
Yes.
Essentially, and so. Oh wait, actually, I think we've already talked about the religious cult shit.
Oh yeah. Well, okay. So something that we should talk about is Daredevil.
Daredevil shows up in episode.
Matt Murdock. He makes appearance. It's a lawyer show. Obviously, we're going to see Matt Murdock.
They drop him in there.
As he said, he's a very good lawyer, and he's actually so good that not even She-Hulk, with all of her powers of breaking the fourth wall, could have whooped his ass in a courtroom.
Yeah, because her person that she's defending, or that she's helping with the lawsuit.
Yeah.
They're suing. It was this guy, and he had a super suit made by her, by the guy that basically makes super suits, and his jet boots malfunctioned and basically caught fire.
Yeah, because he put jet fuel inside the boots.
Which now, if you're a lawyer, the first thing that you want to discuss with your client is everything that happened. You need to go through all of the details, make sure that everything is lined up. She only finds out that he put jet fuel, which is not the proper fuel, apparently. He put jet fuel in there because I guess he wanted to go fast, and that's what caused the issue.
Yeah.
And she's finding out about this in the courtroom.
Which has got to be so embarrassing.
It's like,
as a
how
lawyer.
fucking dull can you be as a lawyer? This is supposed to be a lawyer show, and you're figuring out all this shit right at the end, like right in the moment. What do you think was going to happen? Of course they're going to have some kind of defense like that.
Yeah.
And so Daredevil basically shows her up, and they have a moment where they're talking after the fact, and they meet at a bar.
Mm-hmm.
They just so happen to have gone to the same bar, and you can tell that they're getting kind of attracted to each other. And I'm like, no, don't do this to my Daredevil.
Don't do this to Matt. Don't do Matt dirty like that.
She has a scene in her finale where she's like, we're Hulks, we smash things, and she was like, and sometimes we smash Matt Murdock, and I was like, oh no. It's like, stop.
So corny.
It's super corny. And they end up having a point where turns out the guy who lost the lawsuit, the frog dude who had this costume and the jet, all that shit, ends up kidnapping the guy that makes the costumes. Which, first off, how did he do that?
Yeah.
I'm sure the dude has crazy security. So first off, how did he do that? Second off, that's a fucking dumb move. Like, the dude went balls crazy.
Yeah.
To the point, and then of course Daredevil shows up and to stop him, and She-Hulk's like, wait, you can't stop this guy. He's my client. And Daredevil's like, yeah, but your client's kind of an ass, and kidnaps somebody. And she goes, okay, yeah, we should stop him. Puts on her super suit and causes loads more property damage, and then claps. Does a Hulk clap to Daredevil, the guy who uses his ears to see shit.
Yeah.
But he's fine. So that's the problem I have with this show, is that this show genuinely has no consequences for its actions. And so Daredevil gets this new costume. It kind of looks like ketchup and mustard. I wasn't a big fan of it.
That was like his, in the comic books, that was like his final form, I want to say. That was it is kind of ketchup and mustardy, but I think it was supposed to be more gold in the comic books. I think it was supposed to be golden red, not yellow and red.
Right.
But the show kind of went with that direction.
Yeah, it kind of went more and more yellow. But so they end up. She causes far more property damage. They don't give a shit. And she ends up banging Daredevil, which was fucking. It's dumb. Yeah. And then apparently he has what is considered to be the walk of shame. He was carrying his shoes, which I don't know. I haven't seen a guy who walks barefoot and carries his shoes.
I don't know if that was supposed to be a walk of shame, or if he was just leading all casual.
The thing is that I really think it is, because normally the idea of the walk of shame is a woman walking on barefoot, carrying her heels, right? Mm-hmm. Because they don't it's uncomfortable to walk in heels normally.
Right.
So there's no other reason for him to not be walking with his shoes, unless he's trying to mimic, unless the directors are wanting him to mimic that sort of situation. Mm-hmm. So Daredevil basically does the walk of shame, which I would, in my mind, I'm like, no, it's for guys that are usually considered to be the walk of the champion, because you just bang She-Hulk. And that whole thing, it's
okay, so that's the thing about the scene, is that I don't like that he banged her in Jen Walters' form.
Yeah.
I think he should have banged her in She-Hulk form.
Yep.
I would have liked the scene better.
Yeah. My whole contention is they're trying to the problem I have with that scene is they're trying to make it flipped. They're trying to make because generally, the guys are known as the guys that are players, and the women are usually the ones that are more reserved. That you have to try and win them over in order to sleep with them.
Mm-hmm.
They're trying to flip that where She-Hulk is just doing kind of what she wants and smashing who she wants, that sort of thing, right?
Yeah.
My problem is that that's not hard for guys. Like the difference. There's a difference between men and women. Like men will literally bang anything that moves.
I don't know if we want to like get scientific about this,
Right.
but so there are two ways in which species mate: intrasexually or intersexually.
Right.
So intersexually is like when you compete with other members of the same sex in order to attract attention.
Right.
So that's sort of like like in I don't know, like caveman days or whatever.
Right.
And you see that a lot in males. Like a lot. Good example, birds.
Right.
Birds do that a lot, where they compete
We build
with
nests.
other males.
I
They
got
build
blue.
nests. So they will compete with other males in order to gain the affection of a female.
Right.
Because they're just like, we gotta fuck, we gotta make babies, we gotta keep this species going.
Mm-hmm.
Intrasexually is like when women, and this is typical for a lot of mammals and birds and all that, where it's like they will judge the male species, and they will be very selective because they want the best genes.
Right.
So, or in the case of birds, the best interior design instincts.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and that's sort of like, that gets flipped a lot when it comes to humans because we've advanced far past our welcome on this planet, where we can just kind of decide the rules ourselves.
Right.
In this case, and the whole reason why I'm saying this is because I just want to bring up a very funny point about how, we saw the scene where, Jen Walters, She-Hulk, she bangs that really buff guy, that doctor who,
Yeah.
stole her blood and shit.
Mm.
And you know what, that was just sort of like,
He kinda-
developed a plot.
Yeah, he tapped her and then left.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just want to say, the first and only person that we see in this show who genuinely was attracted to Jen and wanted to sleep with her because he liked her was literally a fucking blind dude.
That didn't have some sort of evil
No.
side thing.
Was a fucking blind guy.
Oh, that's great.
So that's your competition.
That's your
Your competition is another guy who straight up can't see her face.
But it's just what. Oh, Chris is wondering, how do pandas do it?
Oh, how do pandas
They
do
don't.
it? They don't. They don't do it.
They don't do it at all. So my whole contention is like, men and women are generally different because normally when it comes to like relations like that,
Mm-hmm.
women normally, I wouldn't say need to be convinced, but a woman needs to be in the right mood to want to do these sorts of actions, right?
Sure.
Guys have a much lower bar. It is like you could wake up with a hangover on a Tuesday and you have work in 30 minutes, but your wife or girlfriend is feeling interesting, and you'd be like, yeah,
Guess I'll just call my manager.
yeah, sorry, I'm gonna be late. But like that's why this scene doesn't work for me. It's because
You
men
should
have
do that one day. Just call your manager and be like, "Hey, I'm gonna be late. I'm banging my wife."
But it's like, men have a. I think the thing that the writers don't understand about the show is that men have a much lower bar for wanting to have like sexual encounters. So this isn't really a walk of shame because you just don't give a shit.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
I don't know. It was hard for me to take it as a walk of shame because I'm just like, you wouldn't do that.
Yeah,
But it kind of
I'm not sure if it was supposed to be played off. It just like it didn't telegraph very well.
Right.
I wasn't able to tell what the attitude behind that walk was.
I'm not a fan at all of the whole like, marks on the bed, backside. Like I'm not a fan of like guys championing around or crusading with various women, right? I don't think that's a good thing. I think that's a terrible thing. I think you should probably find a woman that you like and stick with her. But you have to understand this is also human nature. Guys will generally try to we try to bang.
Yeah.
That's what drives us. It's like that scene in Matrix with Mr. Smith. It's like it's purpose that created us, purpose that drives us. But guys, like I said, guys have a much lower standard for meeting that threshold. So it doesn't connect because of that, because it doesn't work. And then you have we'll go ahead and go to it. We get to the ending of the show, and there's this big to do where Abomination breaks his bracelet, and he's not even that great either, because he's guest speaking for a bunch of the incels that took her blood. Because I thought it was going to be some sort of like corporation or big evil company, or not company, but military group like Russians, Chinese, or whatever, like fucking Germans. I don't know. The next neo-Nazis. Somebody was going to take her blood to make super serum, right?
No, it's just a bunch of internet trolls.
It's just a bunch of internet trolls that took her blood, which was fucking dumb.
You know what's funny is like these guys are like talking, and they're supposed to come off as like super misogynistic and like they just hate She-Hulk because she's a woman and blah blah blah. They kind of make some good points.
They
though.
had
They
some
do
good
make
points
some good
because
points.
it was Todd Phelps, one of her old dates. And he goes on some of these lines, and he's like, she didn't earn this, but she acts, privileged about it. Everything is kind of fallen in her lap, and she doesn't really have any consequences for her actions. And I'm like, yeah, this guy's actually kind of right.
Honestly, I would join this group.
Yeah, honestly.
I was like, this guy, he's really making a lot of good points.
Yeah. And so I got a fucking kick out of that. But she ends up showing up. There's a big to do. They have this big get together at Blonsky's religious cult area, which was funny. And what's her face? Jen shows up. I totally skipped past the whole thing where she rages out with the incel stuff, because nothing of the show is fucking consequences. She shows up. Abomination is souped up like Abomination. Doesn't have his tracker on, because I guess you can just break that. And he's like, yeah, I do speaking sometimes for profit. It's like, you're Abomination, or you're Emil Blonsky. Why don't you just go as Emil Blonsky? You're still Abomination.
I guess so.
Todd Phelps is like, hey, I got the super serum from you, and he injects it in himself, and I'm like, okay, he's gonna rage out like a Hulk because he can't control his shit. No, he can control it, which is dumb. That's really dumb. And then Abomination is protecting Jen because she can't transform for fucking reasons. It's all dumb. And then Bruce Banner, boom, falls out of the sky to fight, and then what's her face, the Titania comes out from the side, and she's like, this is the actual ending for the show, what are you guys doing? Breaking the fourth wall. And she actually says, screw this. She breaks the fourth wall so hard, she breaks through your TV, essentially, and then goes into Marvel Studios as She-Hulk, by the way. Walks in and is like, I don't like what y'all guys have done with my ending. And they're like, oh, well, you need to talk to Kevin, which I thought was Kevin Feige.
Yeah.
And she's like, okay.
I'm sure it's based off him.
Yeah, and so she's like, okay, I'm going to go talk to Kevin then. And we're like, you can't just talk to Kevin. She basically walks straight in, signs an NDA for a joke, and then goes in and breaks in. And they played Big Dick Energy, which I was offended by, because that song I get a good kick out of, and I'm like, how dare they use that in this show?
Yeah.
But she goes in, and apparently Kevin is a robot that is supposed to make perfect Marvel movies which if he is responsible for Phase 4, he should be shut down immediately.
Yes. The
Because-
studio should have caught to that.
I mean, just for writing She-Hulk alone, he should be shut down.
Yeah, it's like, well, clearly this thing is bugged.
Yep, obviously, it's pretty terrible. And she literally convinces him to change the outcome. No Bruce Banner. Emil Blonsky is back to normal. No serum thing, which was the only long plot that they had
Mm-hmm.
for this show. Everything else was kind of sitcom-y.
Yeah.
And yeah, and they just completely changed the outcome, and everything's all hunky dory. And I'm like, do you realize what you've done? And he's like, oh yeah, you can't access this system anymore because we fixed the problem with the menu that you got into.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm like, she broke the fourth wall. If she does that, she can probably do that again anyway.
Yeah.
So you literally took a show. Everything that She-Hulk has done, she has not had to have consequences for it. So actually,
Yeah.
she was in jail for 5 seconds, and they put a thing on her which she then broke, an inhibitor or whatever.
Wow.
So it's just the show ended with Bruce coming back, and she's, I guess, dating Daredevil potentially, and Bruce Banner was on Sakaar, and he has a son named Scar. I shit you not, the dude looks like he's in his mid-20s, the son. What is this show? Like, the amount of crap that you're throwing out is unbelievable.
Remember when Bruce Banner, I believe it was like the second Avengers movie?
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, but he's talking to Black Widow. He's talking to Natalie, Natalia.
Yeah.
And he's like, I can't have children. I physically can't. Remember that? Remember when he's told us to our faces that he genetically cannot bear children?
Mm-hmm.
He has a son. And he's had one for, by the looks of it, 15 or so years.
The MCU is really, this is the lowest point, I think, in the MCU, because it's an amalgamation of all the crap that has come out, like, the MCU is gone. It should have ended at Endgame,
Yeah.
but they kept throwing shit out, and this Phase 4 has been nothing but utter garbage.
And yet they keep canceling all the good shows.
Yeah.
Punisher canceled after 2 seasons. Daredevil, I don't know if that's still going on.
And honestly, at this point, I hope they don't, because if they keep going in this direction with Kevin, then Daredevil is just going to be destroyed, because he wasn't even really himself in this show either, because he was like, oh yeah, I'll go in stealthily, and then he does go in stealthily. The show is just, She-Hulk is extremely short. It's funny to laugh at because of how bad it is, but it is, again, not worth your time.
Yeah.
So, I think that's, I'm sick of talking about She-Hulk. I want to do a review of the show, where I'm going to break it down, hopefully pretty brief. It would be an actual like video. It won't be a stream. But in all conclusions, I think this is the end of our first arc as commenters on shows, and I mean, I've been really enjoying this so far.
Now, of course, you guys do have future content to look forward to.
Of course,
We
we're not going
will-
to stop. This
yeah.
shit's great.
We have movies and shows that we actually enjoy that
Yeah.
we would like to talk about.
I mean, I might watch a couple episodes of Andor, see if there's anything good to talk about there.
Andor is shockingly not a bad show.
Yeah, so
It holds up pretty well.
because here's the thing, it's easy to shit on a show,
Mm-hmm.
but I have more fun talking about like the nuances of shows, like you have like what we were talking about with Arcane. I would
Yeah.
love to go in depth with the insecurities of Powder, why she has them, and all that sort of stuff, and why it builds up so beautifully in the third episode,
Yeah.
or so terribly, you could say. I would love to talk about the nuances of those. She-Hulk and Rings of Power, they're so blatantly dull. It's easy to talk about, and it's easy to bring up all of the problems of a show.
Yeah.
There's not a whole lot of work that needs to be done. I have so many notes that I could talk about I just
But we have to cut for time.
yeah. And well, not yeah, because I'm hungry.
Yes.
But so from next week we will either, I would say, talk about Andor, or we might start doing other breakdowns of shows and things like that. And just because, the reason why I started this podcast with Riley, when I called him up one day when I was at work, is because I love talking about movies with him and talking about our opinions of different shows and things that we like. We talk about movies all the time anyway. That's one of the things that brought us together, was we were in film class together in high school. We just love the cinema and the way in storytelling.
Mm-hmm.
So, in our next podcast, we might be talking about stuff. We might not be shitting on a show after this, but whenever
We'll be praising it.
we will be praising something, and I love doing that too. Or what we could do? There was one thing that I think we said that we were going to do a few podcasts ago when we were talking about Rings of Power. We did say that when the show was done, we should look at a YouTube review and do a reaction to that.
Yeah.
I would enjoy doing that.
Yeah.
That would be a good send off. So I'll scour the internet next week and see if I can find any good She-Hulk and Rings of Power videos to make fun of.
Yeah.
And because I'm sure the reviews are going to be coming out soon after the shows are finally over. So if I find something juicy, then we'll break that down, and that'll be a blast.
Nice.
Because those are the real fun ones, when you get to listen to
Those
people's
are
just
great.
terrible opinions of shows.
Yeah.
And so I think,
We should do a Ben Shapiro one.
oh, that'd be good. Oh, that'd be good.
Because he has some of the worst
He has
takes.
some terrible, say, politics aside from Ben Shapiro, he has some garbage.
If you guys hate Ben
Takes.
Shapiro for his politics and all that, you can hate him for another reason. He sucks at reviewing movies and shows too.
Or and I think you can hold both sides. I think even if you like his politics, you should also agree that his takes on films are crap.
Yeah.
So
So whether you love him, hate him, don't feel anything towards him, just know that he is a fucking moron when it comes to movies.
oh my god, yes. Yeah, I was watching that one time and I was like, man, what are you saying?
Yeah.
Dude, I remember looking at his Star Wars lineup. I don't remember what exactly it looked like for all of his favorite movies, and oh my god. But yeah, so we'll see y'all guys next week. I hope y'all guys enjoyed this stream. This is the conclusion of our Rings of Power and She-Hulk arc. Not sure where we're gonna go from here, but hey, this is the next frontier. So we'll see y'all guys later.
You guys have a good one.
Bye.